Thank you so much, Godfrey. Now, it is just a bit over 2 months away from November when the Progressive Liberal Party will be having their first convention in 7 years. Our guest, a former Attorney General, former Member of Parliament for Fort Charlotte, Mr. Alfred Sears, QC, will be making a bid for leadership at that convention, and it is sure to be a fantastic race. Good morning, Mr. Sears, and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's truly a joy for me to sit with you. I remember meeting you many years ago when you were the Minister of Education, and just being so impressed by you and the fact that you had gone to Columbia, a school that I'd always dreamed of attending. And even at that time, I could see in you something brilliant, something shining, and certainly you have brought that to the fore at this point. Now, I know that about you, but I want you to reintroduce yourself to our audience this morning. Let them know who Alfred Sears, the man, is.
Well, born in Nassau, grew up in the West Street area, attended primary school at St. Francis, and had some challenges as a youngster.
Okay.
Was sent to the Boys Industrial School. And while that was a challenge for me, because I went into the Boys Industrial School in a rage.
Okay.
And I had one ambition in life, and that was to kill the person who had raped me as a child.
Wow.
And it was in the Boys Industrial School as I got counseling, and I started to read, and with the intervention of so many incredible people, such as Leroy Archer, Winifred Mackenzie, the constant support of my grandparents, I was able to deal with that rage, and I then decided that I wanted to go back to school.
Okay.
The people around me gave me the opportunity, and I barely passed the exam for St. Augustine's College. They started me in a modified stream.
Okay.
And eventually I became very active in the debate society, but teachers worked with me.
Okay.
The first year I never went to the cafeteria. Sister Barbara Doyle worked with me during lunchtime. Vince Ferguson assisted, Wellington Pratt. So I am the product of this community who healed me and also enabled me to get on the road to realizing my dreams. At St. Augustine's, I also got involved in the community, and through various youth organizations, the Youth with the Truth, and I helped to found the ICYA, the Interdenominational Christian Youth Association. We were active in Grantstown and Bainstown. We established summer school for the youngsters, and we developed a public voice in the Bahamas, challenging the government about the conditions of the community over the hill. I met my wife, Marion, during this period, and I was admitted to Columbia University, and through the support and mentoring of Kendall Isaacs, of Barbara Doyle, they assisted me to get 2 scholarships that enabled me to attend Columbia. While attending Columbia, I became the president of the Students Association for New York and worked with fantastic peers. And of course, that's where I met Tony McKay, and we became lifelong friends. At Columbia, I never had an interest in teaching, I must confess. My interest was to to train as a lawyer and return home. And one of my professors suggested that I apply to the City University of New York. They were looking for someone to develop a complex of courses in Caribbean studies.
Okay.
And I went and I did it for a year as an adjunct professor. And the response of the students and the faculty from the peer review, they offered me a full-time position as a professor in Caribbean studies, and I developed a sequence of courses, and that took me for 13 years.
Wow. And then from that, you end up
Yeah.
being this lawyer,
Yes,
this politician.
yes.
But one of the things that we do know is that you had kind of resigned from the political forefront. You had moved into a more private area of your life. What led you to, one, come back, and then to two, say, I'm not just coming back as a member of parliament, I would actually like to be the leader?
Well, I served for 5 years in the cabinet and also 5 years in opposition. And in 2012, and also had the wonderful opportunity to represent Fort Charlotte with a powerful group of people and colleagues. But I felt that we were on the wrong path.
Okay.
I felt that we were not addressing the critical needs, and I had some very profound concerns. I also had made a commitment to myself, my wife Marion, that I will not be in any public office when I am concerned with my personal private, and I had 3 children in university at the time, and I wanted to make sure I got them through university and give that my concentrated focus. But I also understood, given the condition in which politics is being done in the Bahamas, I needed time for reflection. So I declined. I did not accept the nomination in 2012. And I came back in the private sector. It has been a wonderful experience. I continued some public service by serving as chairperson of the College of the Bahamas and leading the process in the transition to the University of the Bahamas. And then after writing a book, which should be published by November, and having this time for critical reflection, a number of events occurred which I had not anticipated. One is that the Member of Parliament for Fort Charlotte basically crossed the floor.
Yes.
And the branch in Fort Charlotte approached me and asked me to apply. I thought about it, and after discussing it with my family, I decided to re-engage. But I recognize that the condition of our party, first of all, we have not been observing the constitution of the party for 7 years.
Wow.
The constitution requires an annual general convention,
Right.
which is the supreme authority of the party. That has not happened in 7 years. Many of the branches, for example, if you were to go into Grand Bahama, most of the branches are not active,
Right.
and have not been active for years. The Constitution says that the appointment of stalwart councillors should be on the proposal of a branch or 10 members in good standing. Well, if there are no branches,
Then how can you appoint them?
who is proposing these people?
Yes.
Then the stalwart councillors should have a council, according to the Constitution, where they can meet as council, a stalwart council, on each island and discuss the business of the party. Well, we have no stalwart council. Then the Constitution also calls for an island or regional councils. There was one for a period in Grand Bahama. So the structure, the governance, democratic processes within the party are not functioning the way the Constitution requires. And, you know, the party is governing the country.
Yeah.
And therefore ought to model its own
Constitution,
of course,
yeah.
and observe its own constitution.
So-
A year ago, I wrote the leader and the prime minister, and I presented a number of proposals. That letter was signed also by Pedro Roll, Andrew Edwards, Keenan Johnson, and Orinthia Komalafi. We wanted to, in a very confidential, private way, give the leader the benefit of our reflections and how to re-energize the party. This was a little over a year ago. To this date, I had not gotten a response. And after reviewing the situation and looking at the national, this thing about anchor project and this heavy reliance on foreign direct investors,
certainly,
and not putting the critical resources of the country to incentivize Bahamian entrepreneurs. You know, I don't care how big the project is, even if you give the foreign investor a knighthood. Well, I mean, we saw that a foreign investor took the knighthood and left and no longer owns the project.
Yeah.
We need the Bahamian entrepreneurs are here in good times and bad times.
Yes.
And if you look at Singapore, if you look at most countries which are considered model of sustainable development, they have invested in their local entrepreneurs. They have diversified their economies. And the governance process must be more transparent. It must be more accountable. And I've put forward a number of recommendations to take us in that direction.
Well, Mr. Sears, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You gave us some fantastic buzzwords there, and I really wish we had more time because there's so much more I want to find out from you. So we'll have to have you back again when we can find out a bit more about how you plan to turn those things around and bring things like transparency to the forefront. What the plan is for the young entrepreneur. And certainly I love the fact that you call some young names that seem to have been thinking along the same lines of you, because certainly that's the way we want to move forward for the future. So we wish you all the best, and we hope that you'll be back.
Thank you. It'd be a pleasure to come whenever you invite me.
Certainly. You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.